I want to talk a little bit about the development of native grass seedlings. There's a few things that are really important to understand. First of all, native grass seed is very slow to germinate. And this is true of most warm season perennial grasses. It's not just natives, but Bermuda grass, for instance, is very slow to germinate. So typically we don't expect to see these seedlings germinate really for about 21, even 24 days. So this field that we're looking at here was planted on about June 20th, which is a little on the late side, but it's fine. And you can see some small seedlings right here. There's one right there in front of my finger. Here's another one. Here's another one. There's another one. And today is August 24th. So some of these seedlings have laid in the ground now for about 60 days before germinating, 50 days anyway. Some of these seedlings here are probably only about 2 weeks old. Some of them may be a little bit older than that. But what I wanted to stress is that germination is slow and development of the seedling is initially very slow. These, again, are very small seedlings, but they are continuing to pop up, and we'll probably see germination for the next 2 or 3 weeks. Now, the other thing that's important to understand about native grass seedlings is the rate at which they develop. So these individual seedlings here have not gone through the process of tillering. Now, to show you tillering, I want to show you this seedling right here. This is an Indian grass seedling, and it has begun to tiller. In other words, this is a single plant that has come from a single seed, and these individual stems that are starting to break off and come up on their own here. Here's another example. Here's a big blue stem plant that now has 3 or 4 or 5 tillers on it. So once these plants begin this process of tillering, which very often happens at about 6 weeks of age, 8 weeks of age, they go through a physiological transformation where they develop what we call adventitious roots. These real small seedlings that I've been showing you, like this one over here, has a single taproot. But these adventitious roots are spreading out underneath this larger plant. Once a seedling reaches that stage, a couple of really important things happen. Number one, its ability to survive dry conditions is much improved. These little seedlings right here could die during a drought. This seedling right here could go all summer without another drop of rain and do just fine. The other important thing is that this seedling here, if winter dormancy started tomorrow, would be absolutely fine. It would survive the winter. These small seedlings right here are too small to survive the winter. They need to reach this stage to be able to do that. This blue stem seedling is large enough to survive the winter. The other important thing that happens with these adventitious roots in the tillering is the plant develops a much greater tolerance of herbicide application. So for instance, this plant right here, we could spray 2,4-D, we could put an additional application of imazapic, we could spray Cimarron, we could spray a number of different herbicides over this plant and not worry about hurting it. These plants right here are still fairly vulnerable to herbicides, and we have to be very cautious in applying a herbicide to a seedling that small. One other consideration about spraying with herbicides during the seedling stage is that some herbicides will suppress germination of the seed, and so at that situation there may be a number of other seedlings that could yet germinate and help fill in this stand that are not going to be able to germinate once we've applied certain herbicides. So we need to be cautious in terms of those applications, but the important thing is that these larger seedlings that have already tillered can easily withstand the herbicide, depending on which herbicide it is. They're ready to survive winter, and they can survive drought. In other words, they're becoming very well established and well on their way to being part of a successful stand.